When you think Broncos greats, you think of the big names. Langer, Lockyer, Webcke, Tallis. But behind every superstar, there were blokes who did the hard yards, the unsung heroes who rarely made the headlines but were vital to the team. Today, we're remembering some of the forgotten heroes of the Brisbane Broncos.
Old Skool Broncos,
G'day legends, welcome to another episode of the Old Skool Broncos Podcast, a place where we talk all things Brisbane Broncos from a fan's perspective. Let's start with Allan Cann. Now, Cann's not a household name unless you were glued to the Broncos in the early 90s. But he was there in those first golden years, tough, rugged, and no-frills forward who just got stuck in. He debuted in 1989 and went on to play over 100 games for the club, including being part of the 92 and 93 premiership sides. Not flashy, not a highlight reel guy, but ask any of his teammates and they'll tell you Cann was a bloke who did the dirty work in the middle. If Webcke and Lazarus were the sledgehammers, Cann was the steady hand on the shovel. And who could forget that big right foot step in the grand final? Then there's Peter Ryan, one of the hardest hitters the Broncos have ever produced. Ryan had that old school enforcer vibe. He wasn't running 100 metres for tries. He wasn't setting up fancy plays. But if you ran at him, you knew about it. His defence was brutal. Fans loved Ryan because he represented that mongrel every team needs. He'd come off the bench or start, depending on the years, smash a few blokes and instantly lift the intensity. He was part of the 97 Super League win and the 98 NRL Premiership, but you'll never see him on the highlights tapes. Ryan was a throwback, a bloke whose hits rattled through the stands and whose toughness became his legacy. Now here's one fans remember fondly, Jack Reed, the centre with the ginger top and the fearless style. Reed wasn't a Broncos junior. He earned his shot the hard way, playing for North's Devils in the Queensland Cup. He impressed enough to catch Wayne Bennett's eye and got his crack at the big time. From the moment he debuted in 2011, fans loved him. He wasn't the flashiest player, but he had absolute commitment. He defended like a brick wall and had a knack for scoring when it mattered. Reed was a key part of that 2015 Broncos side that went all the way to the grand final, and across his career he crossed for 49 tries in 128 games. Born on Bribie Island, he qualified for England through his parents and chose to represent them internationally, which only added to his cult status with the fans. Sadly, injury cut his career short in 2016, but for the years he was there, Reed gave everything. He's remembered as one of those blokes who squeezed every drop out of his ability and left nothing in the tank for the Broncos. Now, Dane Carlaw. There's a name that deserves more credit. Carlaw was one of those forwards who seemed to just always be there. From 99 to 2007, he played nearly 200 games for the Broncos. Won 2 premierships and represented both Queensland and Australia. But somehow, he never quite got the same shine as his teammates. Maybe it's because he was more workhorse than headline act. Maybe it's because his style was steady, not spectacular. But make no mistake, Carlaw was crucial. He's remembered for his reliability. In big games, you could always count on Carlaw to churn through the meters, make his tackles, and do the stuff that doesn't get the glory but wins matches. And then we have Ian Lacy. Now, Lacey's time at the Broncos was short. Just 8 games from 2006 to 2007, but he left a mark. He was one of those crafty little hookers who brought energy off the bench. Fans loved him because he looked like the kid you'd see at the local club, stocky, cheeky, full of heart. And suddenly, there he was playing NRL. He was proof that sometimes the battlers get their shot. He was part of that 2006 squad that won the premiership. And while he didn't get the same spotlight as Lockyer or Hunt, he'll always be remembered by Broncos Tragic for being part of that magical year. And who can forget that shot that he put on Willie Mason? So while the spotlight always shines on the Lockyers and the Langers, Broncos history is full of forgotten heroes. Allan Cann, the unsung forward of the early 90s. Peter Ryan, the enforcer who rattled bones. Jack Reed, the Bribie Island boy who fought his way broke in through Queensland Cup and gave everything. Dane Carlaw, the reliable workhorse with 2 premierships to his name. And Lacy, the little bloke who proves size doesn't matter when you've got a big heart. They may not have statues outside Suncorp Stadium, but for the true fans, they'll never be forgotten. So give me some of your favourite players in the comments. I'd love to hear some of these old names coming back up. Until next time, this is the Old Skool Broncos podcast. Let's go, Broncos.